2, 1.
Right. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. We start in the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful. We bear witness there is no deity worthy worship except Allah, praise and glory be to Him, and that Muhammad is a seal of messengers. He was sent as a mercy to all mankind. May peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, his family, his companions, and those who followed his path until the day of judgment. I greet you with the greeting of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all, dear brothers, dear sisters, dear listeners, and dear viewers as well. This is the A2Z show with your host, Dr. Abdul Aziz, and our guest, Brother Asad al-Zaman. And inshallah, later on, inshallah, we might have another guest as well to talk about the COVID-19 pandemic and the vaccination as it rolls out now, and millions of people have actually went for the vaccine as well. And of course, the question is to take the vaccine or not to take. This is the question. And we'll try to, as much as we can, to get you genuine information to get away from the propaganda and malinformation as well regarding the vaccination and its benefit as well. On the international, I think we have some 2 days. 24th of January was an Education International Day, and the 27th was a Holocaust Memorial Day as well. We'll talk about it as well on the international level as well. And of course on the European level as well, and the national as well, you have the UK regarding this independence of Scotland and referendum and all this. We'll talk about it on the national as well. There are other things, we'll discuss it as we go along as well. But first of all, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Asad Zaman, Jazakumullah khair. Hope everything is well and you are well as well.
Alhamdulillah. I hope all is well with you, your health especially. And it's good to be back with you after a week. Last week wasn't as successful as it normally is. There we are. These things happen sometimes. Hopefully, inshallah, we'll not have any difficulty today.
Inshallah. And one thing which we start with is the Friday pulpit or Member al-Jumu'ah, is about Friday khutbah. Have you been to any mosque this Friday?
Yes, I had to give 3 khutbahs at the MYF. And it was on the topic of nurturing our children towards Islamic etiquettes and behavior and values.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off by saying, look, you know, when our child is born, boy or girl, we have certain expectations of them. We expect them, hope that they'll grow up, you know, to have respect for us, for the parents and for the siblings, and for those, whoever they come into contact with their teachers and with their elders, etc. As the Prophet ﷺ said, he who does not respect his teachers, parents, and elders is not one of us. And therefore, it is extremely important that we bring up our children respecting all three: parents, teachers, and elders. So, as I said, we have these expectations. We want them to respect us and those around them. We want them to love education. We will want them to love Allah, the Prophet ﷺ, the Qur'an, Hadith. We want them to love our deen, practice it. This is what we would like them to do. This is what we would like. And of course, you know, they grow up to be professionals and good, solid Muslims and Muslimas, Muslim boys and girls, turning into good Muslim adults, contributing positively to society. Now, what I said was, although that's our hope and our desire, that's not always reality. And the reality can be rather disheartening because of the conditions we are living in. So they grow up, okay, generally up to about 9, maybe 10 years of age. They're very good boys and girls. They behave themselves. They obey their parents and are respectful. But then something happens to them from the age of about 11 to 15. And there's a transformation. And in too many cases, that transformation is not good. They go from being very good, respectful children to being rebellious, saying no, and sometimes even in a very rude manner. And this rudeness becomes almost habitual, a habit for them. It's normal for them, disagreeing with you all the time. I want to go here and I want to go there, and maybe they want to go to a nightclub or they want to go with their friends out somewhere, maybe at night. And you know this is bad for them, and you don't even know who their friends are. They may be good or bad. But if you deprive them of going, if you don't allow them to go for their own safety, they see it as you oppressing them, and you're depriving them of having fun and of having, a good time. So friction starts, and then that respect starts to go. And then sometimes it can become abusive and even violent. And sadly, this does happen. So what I was saying was that, how do we prevent this from happening?
For what you are saying, these children are living within a society, and whatever we do now, not only we used to have, but with the social media and everything, they are exposed to the element, and what is there out there affect us, isn't it?
Well, exactly. I remember as a 16-year-old, I remember reading in my biology textbook that 95% of a person's behavior is determined by his environment, not inherited. Only about 5% is inherited. So the impact of the environment is enormous. And what environment are we living in? The macro environment, that environment outside of our house, is a secular liberal environment. It has no respect for any religion or moral values. And therefore, if we expect the system to have a positive impact on them, then we're going to be disappointed. Therefore, the only way to minimize the damage to them, to their values and their beliefs and their way of life from the macro environment, the outside environment, is by having an Islamic atmosphere in the micro environment of their homes and masajid and Islamic centers. And because that, you see, values like respect, you can't teach them. You can't give a lecture on it and expect them to suddenly behave in a respectful way. These are absorbed within the child as they grow up. So, for example, I always know which child goes back to their place of origin, their home, so to speak, regularly, which child doesn't. Even though Muslim countries, they may not be operating on Sharia or Islamic law, whatever, and the people may not be very, very religious, but there is a certain atmosphere of respect which still exists to a large extent. And so a child growing up in that atmosphere absorbs that. And by seeing how adults interact with each other, the respect that they have, etc., and how children are interacting with their parents with love and respect and calmness. And those children who do go back home regularly, maybe over the summer holidays, they do pick up that from there. And of course, there will be some influence from their homes. So it's extremely important that we create an Islamic environment within our homes so that we become the role models for our children. Where else are they going to get these values from? Because the macro environment, and of course, by that we mean school, outside, whatever happens, the internet, and everything else that is an influence on them, social media, etc. All of that is in the hands of the secular liberal establishment. And as I said earlier, that has no respect for any religion or any culture. And that is why it's extremely important that we create that environment, especially, for example, a child. When a child is born, we think that this little baby, nothing is going into that baby's mind.
You know, about the COVID-19, we see it all bad, but one advantage now is that children are at home. Do you think that is one way Allah is telling us, look after your children and give them quality time and
well, that's the question. How, even in this lockdown situation, how much of a child's time is actually quality time that you're giving to the child? Or are they simply at home on the internet or playing games? Well, then it doesn't matter whether you're there or not.
I mean, some statistic, they say around 7 hours a day is spent on the internet. With the age of, I said, even you are said 11, 15, I think I will go up to 25 or more. There is almost 3 hours to 40 minutes on games.
Well, this is what I'm saying, that unless that time that you're spending at home with the child is quality time, it's not good enough to say, well, I'm there 10 hours a day with my child. But if you're doing one thing and the child is doing something else, that's not quality time. Quality time is when you're playing with that child.
You give them full attention.
Yes, you're playing games with them, and you're having fun with them, and you're developing a relationship with them. And through that relationship and through that interaction, you're getting across certain values and principles that child will then pick up. And when they see you smiling at your wife and acting in a merciful and friendly and happy and loving way, that will have an impact on the child. And either a child will grow up with fond memories of their childhood or very negative and stressful memories, which will either, perhaps subconsciously have an impact on their relationship with their wife and their children.
And do you think now the responsibility, if we look at it from a conservative, traditional way, the mother has a great impact on the children. The father, if he goes 8 hours, he goes for work and seeking livelihood and everything. In traditional house, and even now, say some conservative, even non-Muslims and everything, where the work or the best of the jobs is a housewife, and what is best then a mother. So therefore, you think the role of the mother as well has been affected with time, and therefore even the mother is not doing its role as the father as well.
There was a famous woman poet who once said, we mothers are the potters, our children the clay. It is the mother that shapes the child into whatever she wants to make it into, because of the interaction, because of the regular interaction that she has from birth, from before birth to whatever age. It's the mother that is perhaps more important in many respects, obviously, than the father. That's why the Prophet ﷺ was asked in terms of respect and honor regarding mother and father, and the Prophet ﷺ said to the child, the person you should respect more is your mother. And they said, then who? Then he said, your mother. They said, who then? He said, your mother. And then he said, well, after that, who then? And then he said, your father.
So therefore, time-wise, therefore the mother should be, it's 3 times more important than the father.
And that is why it is so important that we choose the right woman as our wife.
Okay.
It's extremely important that we choose the right woman as the mother of our children.
But therefore, here, because you identify the problems, and of course, we can start before that. We talked about, mother and father relationship, and then the percentage of divorce has increased, single mothers has increased. And do you think that the mothers and the father, before they become mother and father and they married, they need to know their responsibilities? It's why, I spoke about this pre-marriage course and how important is the family in the society as a whole. So therefore, if those individuals are not taught, and I think I can link it to, the Association of Muslim Schools, they have done a conference about relationship and sex education, and they spoke about a curriculum about teaching relationship and sex education within the Islamic framework to the children. For therefore, and within the marriage, concept between a male and female, for that can create what call a future generation who can look after their children well, educate them well. And of course, if the relations of a father and mother is good, then of course, out of that, the children will be good as well. But in Islam, you and me, we are humans, we are not prophets. Our role model is the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet is our model. And for the mothers, our mothers of the believers are role models for the mothers as well. So therefore, do you think teaching the Prophet ﷺ life from his biography is in details known, his companions, all those role models as well, the mothers of believers, his wives, all of this are very important for the children, and therefore they can base their identity on this Islamic identity, which is an international identity, and there we talk about the global citizenship, isn't it?
So yes, definitely we need to, you see, what you're saying, I mean, I'll just continue really highlight and underline what you're saying. And that is, we are living in a very complex world today. I mean, you compare that to, say, village life in Algeria or Pakistan.
Yeah.
And life is very slow in these villages. It's like a place where time has just stopped. And those traditional values are still there. And whether it's farming or this, that, the other, and the relationship between siblings and parents. And you see those relationships haven't changed much over the perhaps decades. I know even in villages, I'm sure the internet and television have played their part, and they're not what they used to be. But by and large, the culture keeps everyone in place. The conservative values keeps everyone in place. In the West, especially, And I would say probably even in the cities in Algeria and Pakistan and other Muslim countries, life has become much more complicated. Women, largely, they like to work. And men are, if the men are working and the women are working, there is no time for the children. Then we have childminders and babysitters. They become the parents. And so where is that bonding between children and parents going to take place? It doesn't. That bonding between the child and the babysitter is stronger than between the child and the parent, because it is the babysitter or childminder that's spending more time with them, because mom and dad are too busy with their careers. And so they have little time for the children. So we should not be surprised if those children then decide to go their own way and they don't turn out the way mommy and daddy would like them to. And that sadly is what's happening in society. So we need to rethink this whole relationship thing, because as I said, life is very complicated nowadays. There are so many pressures, especially upon boys, but also on girls. They're going mostly to mixed schools. And if a boy finds a girl attractive, and with the internet and the pornography and everything else, that boy's head's already messed up. He's only got one thing on his mind. Even these 13 and 14-year-olds, they are messed up with what's on the internet. And so sexual relations become normal, even between these children. And that's why survey after survey that I've read here in the UK over the past 30 years, not just recent, over the past 30 years, since the 80s, I've been reading these surveys of social trends. And they say that about half of all 14-year-old girls are having regular sex. That's just, it's mind-blowing. It's a tragedy. This is a breakdown of society. And sadly, our children are going to be part of that. Our children can't be isolated. They're going to be influenced by what's happening around them. And so you find our own children, girls, are losing their virginity at school, and the boys as well, of course. Boys and girls are having sexual diseases, AIDS, syphilis, gonorrhea. All the things that are happening in the wider society are happening within our society, because we cannot remain insulated. We can't. What happens out there happens to our children. So the best way to protect them is to bring them up, especially when they're in that micro environment of the home, to have an atmosphere within the home that allows for the transfer of Islamic values and principles and practices and beliefs from the parents to the children.
Therefore, we are just saying that, like we want to later on talk about I think because I hope we will have a break, and then we'll call for this guest to come and we speak about the COVID-19 and this. You talk about the immune system is very weak now, and therefore it's all kinds of social diseases, and we call them viruses as well, are affecting our future generation. Therefore, they are not immune to those kind of things. And human beings are human beings. They have their desires and everything. And do you think that this liberal society is based on, especially on wealth? And even we lost health now, and we're just looking for money in everything, in any way, in everything.
The society we are living in is in moral freefall. We are heading in the direction of hedonism. Hedonism, for those who don't know, means a complete rejection of all moral and religious values, where anything goes. Any sexual activity is okay. Any kind of behavior that you can get away with is okay. Any behavior that gives you pleasure is okay, so long as you can get away with it or it's within the law. And with that kind of atmosphere, that secular liberal atmosphere, and that's what secular liberalism stands for. It stands for worship your nafs, and the direction is hedonism. That means anything with anyone. And that is sadly what's happening in society. As more and more people reject Allah and they say, you know, we're atheists or agnostics or secular liberals, they may even call themselves Muslim or Christian or Jew. They don't practice those faith. They don't practice those principles. They don't accept being restricted by any faith with regards their nafs, their desires. And so, you know, we can only pray that when our children leave the home, that they behave in accordance with Allah's wishes and not according to their shaitan's wishes. But that is what's happening. And unless we do something about it,
and you said it rightly there, because, you know, by law, the parents are the sole responsible for the education and bringing the children. And
well, 75%, yes, that's
yes,
what the law says.
And you know, but however, as you said, the percentage wise, I think they are not having any impact as well. The schools are there as a support system. So therefore, myself as an education, yourself as well, do you think reviewing the curriculum, national curriculum, especially when the introduction of this sex or relationship sex education will have a major impact unless we bring this, you know, as you know, what we call it, spiritual and emotional and health and physical and all those development under a very good moral and ethical framework. Therefore, this relationship and sex education or health education can be taught from primary to secondary school. And I have myself, we tested it in a school called, it used to be called Crescent Community High School for girls. And we introduced the, for example, for the 11 to 15 years old, it was a girls' school, and you spoke about single sex are very important, especially in secondary and colleges as well. But therefore, the idea of looking to the curriculum, and especially within this relationship sex education, has to be comprehensive, therefore introduced within the ethics of the society, and of course, what has worked for us, it should work for our children as well.
We can have some influence on what our children are being taught at school, but only a limited amount of influence, because most teachers are not Muslims. And even if there are safeguards within the RSE syllabus, for example, those teachers will teach that subject the way they want to. They'll use the terminology they want to. And if it means that the person is an atheist and has very few moral values, then that will come across to the children as well. The solution is that we, as I was saying earlier, we are living in a very complex society. Too many different influences that are on our children now, and they're being confused in many ways.
Between the social media,
they're being confused. And that is why it is essential that we have education for parents. How do you deal with this complicated situation?
Therefore, that's what you said about the pre-marriage courses, and very important, therefore.
Very, very important. I think it's essential to have a premarital course to help parents or future parents understand how to bring up their children in this very, very complex world with complex messages and so many different influences. It's not just the education system, it's the peer groups at school, it's the friends, it's social media, it's your Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I mean, the number of influences are just horrendous. And we need to protect our children from the negative aspects of those influences. And we're not doing a very good job of it, unfortunately. We don't even understand what's going on. We don't even understand what those influences are and how to deal with them. We need to understand child psychology.
I was listening to a brother Zaman, to a mother at home, and she said about, teaching her children herself wasn't very easy. And of course, besides the duties as a mother, cooking, cleaning, and doing other things as well. She said that, and this where you think about, do all the mothers has to be teachers, therefore they can teach. And we can talk about the homeschooling as well. There are some people who don't teach, who don't send their children to schools. And do you think that we will talk about maybe another program, inshallah, about the e-schools and this online schooling, everything, maybe in different ways, maybe, and we can actually. Now, I think we might just have a short break, and then I think we'll come back for the second part of our talk on the national issues, and this is regarding COVID-19 vaccination and how the social media is affecting people who are not actually convinced up to so far to take this COVID-19. Of course, people are put on a list of priorities who will be taking it first. And of course, the Prime Minister has spoke about opening the schools on the 8th of March, and all this depending on the rate of infection as well. And of course, we will come back, inshallah, after this break.
Well, Abdulaziz, are you still there?
I'm still there, yes, but I think I just want to contact our guest now, okay?
I have actually sent him an invite, so...
Okay, I will contact him. Okay, I will contact him now. Okay, no problem.
Okay, he's coming now, Abdulaziz.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm with you now. Let me just put my, I just want, right.
Okay, it's Anis Lake.
That's
the name of
Abu Anis, yeah?
Abu Anis, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salatullah.
Okay, Dr. Ferhat, Jazakumullah khair. I think Thank you very much for joining us. And we have Brother Asad Zaman. And we will talk about this COVID-19, as you know, and this COVID-19 virus. And one of our biggest problem now we have got is the effect of the social media and the information around this COVID-19 and what does it do, and of course the vaccine, which have been now rolled out as well. So therefore, we with the brother Ferhat has a PhD, I think, and you can just introduce yourself just in a few minutes. Assalamu alaikum, bless Abu Anis, we call him the father of Anis as well. And you were married, alhamdulillah, with two girls and a boy as well, right?
Three girls
And a boy, as mashallah. And I think two of them are doctors now, medical doctors, and one in the university, and the other one is A-levels, isn't it?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. First of all, COVID-19, I think, please introduce yourself. I know you have done a PhD. Can you just introduce yourself in few, where you come from and where did you start and what you did as well in your career as well? Go on.
Well, you've done a good job of introducing our brother already. But yes, the things he has not mentioned, if you could just fill in the gaps, please.
I am Dr. Ferhat. I am from Algeria. I've got a PhD in biochemistry and MPhil in biochemistry and physiology. I qualified for MPhil from Reading University, and for the PhD I qualified from Salford University.
What are the titles of your MPhil and PhD, if you remember?
The MPhil is the effect of growth hormone on muscle energy metabolism.
And the PhD?
The PhD, I worked on the albumin purification in fish and in mammals, and I did the immuno aspect of it. So I would call my PhD is in immunobiochemistry.
Immunobiochemistry, mashallah. And that's what we did now because of the COVID-19 and overreaction of the immune system. And all people are talking about our immune system is not ready to fight it. And it's why the vaccine is there to help us and help our immune system to be well prepared for it as well. And therefore it doesn't affect us as has affected almost more than 100,000 people have actually died of it as well, and the rate of infection is increasing as well on daily rate as well. And what do you do? Did you do how many papers have you done on your immune and on the research on immunity and everything?
I haven't published. My PhD and my MPhil are published, but I haven't published any papers. I had about 3 papers in my MPhil.
All right.
2-3 papers.
Can I ask you a question, Dr. Ferhat? Straight into it. With your background, how do you see this pandemic progressing? Are we heading towards some kind of closure, or are we really are going to have to live with it like the flu, for example?
Right. Just before I start my intervention, I have to say that I am a qualified academic doctor. I'm not a qualified clinical doctor. So for any clinical advice, I would advise your viewers to refer to their proper medical doctor. So This is the first thing. The second thing, regarding your question,
can I just, before I go to that one, COVID-19, how does it affect the body?
How does it affect the body? Viruses, viruses are microorganisms. They are classified between bacteria and other microorganisms. Scientists they classify viruses neither neither living organisms. They are not proper living organisms. Why? Because they can't survive on their own. They only survive when they are within the cell.
Okay.
That's first thing.
RNA is what you're talking about, yes?
That's the structure of the virus. The structure of the viruses are made mainly of either DNA or RNA.
Yes.
Both DNA and RNA are called nucleic acids. The COVID-19 virus is made of RNA, nucleic acid. That's what.
Mm-hmm.
And does it mutate? Yeah.
Yeah, it does mutate. What happens when it is inside the body? The immune system. The immune system is the defense system for the body. The immune system reacts to the existence of the virus inside the body. What happens? Usually, the immune system has got different lines of defense. First, the two main defense lines are the cellular or humoral immunity and the immunity which is focused or use the antibodies. In this case, when the COVID-19 gets inside the body, the immune system overreacts, and then what happens when it overreacts? There is something called cytokine storm. So that creates inflammation in the body.
Right.
So that inflammation is the inflammation which causes problems for the patients. So the patient will be suffering from breathing problems mainly, but also the inflammation causes other problems also in the body, like or the COVID-19 causes other problems in the body, like for example blood clotting, which creates strokes and other complications.
But therefore, right. Okay, go on.
So if you can just now connect this up, really knowing how it impacts on the body. If you can connect this up with the question I asked, are we heading towards closure with all these vaccines that now are coming on the market and are being implemented, or is it going to be constantly mutating, rendering those vaccines to be useless, and hence, like with the flu vaccine, every year or every 6 months, these pharma companies are going to have to come up with new vaccines to combat the variant COVID-19s?
Right. To answer your question, we have to first cite the fact that this virus it does not live except within the cell. So if when the virus is outside the cell, so it doesn't do anything, it doesn't do any harm. So our strategy to fight the virus should be of depriving the virus from entering within the cell, getting inside the cell.
Okay.
Because it only survives when it is inside the cell. This is one thing. So the main line of strategy is how to prevent the virus from entering the cell. Regarding the vaccine, what does it do? The vaccine, it gives it stimulates the immune system to be ready for the virus. So when the virus comes inside the body, the immune system will be ready to fight it. What happened at the moment without a vaccine, and mainly for most of people, when the virus gets inside the body, the immune system doesn't react quickly. So there is time between the virus inside the body and the immune system reacting to the virus. So in that period, the virus gets the chance to multiply and starts affecting the body. By the time the immune system is ready, it will be late. So the significance of the vaccine is that it makes the immune system of the body ready. As soon as the virus gets inside the body, it starts attacking it. That's the main thing. So as regarding whether the pandemic or the virus will last forever or the vaccines can get rid of it, I think, as far as I know, the vaccine will limit the effect or the harm of the virus. But the virus wouldn't go forever. They wouldn't go forever. I think we'll end up in a scenario where we'll be coexisting with the virus the same as we are with the flu virus. That's
Or AIDS or SARS or all this, yeah?
Yeah. So now if we give as quickly as possible the vaccine to the people, so that will happen, that will deprive the virus from surviving, from survival. So because if the virus is not within the body or within the cell, so it has nowhere where to go and it will just die out. That's the main thing.
Right. Another question that's been puzzling me, and no doubt others as well, is that, you know, the COVID-19 is a member of a family of viruses called coronavirus. SARS, MERS is also a coronavirus. Till now, I mean, was it 2009, was it, when the SARS came out? We're talking about many, many years ago. And yet, still, we've not found a vaccine for the SARS virus or for the MERS virus. So how is it that we've managed to find a vaccine in 1 to 1.5 years, just over a year now, for COVID-19? I just find that a bit surprising.
To my information, I think some companies they managed to find vaccines for MERS virus, but what happened? I think the virus fades out, and so they couldn't find what to do with the vaccine. But regarding the vaccine, the production of the vaccine for COVID. Usually the vaccine in its conventional method of preparing it or producing it, it takes at least takes 2 to 10 years to have a vaccine. In this case, regarding the COVID-19, the BioNTech company, they managed to come with a new method for making or producing vaccines. This method or technique called the mRNA technique. What does it do? This technique is very effective. And it doesn't take a long time. What you do usually, the vaccine of the BioNTech, Pfizer, for example, the mRNA vaccine. What happened? There is a process within the cell called protein synthesis. The proteins inside the body, they're all coded. They've got codes, information within the genetic genome, in this case, mRNA or DNA. Okay. Usually for us as human beings is the DNA, this DNA. The BioNTech technique is revolved around, you know, they studied the virus, and they found that the virus, when it gets inside the body, it binds or it attaches itself to the cell by the spike, the protein spike. You know, that spikes which we see from the outside of the virus. That's the spike by which the virus sticks or attaches itself to the cell. So the strategy is how to destroy the spike protein of the virus. So what they did, they managed to sequence the genome of the virus, and they took the segment of the genome responsible for the production of the spike protein. So in the vaccine BioNTech Pfizer vaccine, always you've got the segment of the mRNA, messenger RNA, responsible for the production of the spike protein. When you get the vaccine, like Abdulaziz has got the vaccine now what happens? That mRNA goes inside the cell, within the body, inside the body, and the cell starts to make the spike protein inside it. When the spike protein is inside the body, the immune system of the body reacts to that spike protein. When the immune body reacts to the spike protein, two things happen. There are two main lines of defense. Usually in immunology, we call it, there is the production of antibodies. We can describe antibodies as the soldiers of the body, soldiers of the body. So we've got the antibodies, and we've got another line of defense that's called the T lymphocytes. Other cells called T lymphocytes, these are called killer T cells. Killer T cells. When the virus is inside the body, so the vaccine, it prepares the immune system to be ready. So the immune system produces antibodies, and its T cells, T killer cells, they get ready as well. So
okay, this is very highly technical, and I'm sure it's very interesting. But if we can just kind of be a bit brief in terms of the technicality, otherwise we'll lose our viewers completely.
Right.
What's the question that's entered my mind again, another along the same lines. First of all, HIV, that's been around for 40 years now, and billions of pounds and dollars have been spent trying to find a vaccine for that. And of course, we haven't found a vaccine for that. Why is that? After 40 years and billions of dollars.
Yeah, the main problem with HIV virus is constantly mutating virus.
So is this. We've got a South African variant. We've got a Brazilian variant, a London variant. I mean, we get every few months we're getting another variant.
I think you meant, brother Ferhat, because HIV is sex-transmitted disease. Consent, because people, when they do sex before marriage, this what happened is a consent, isn't it? That's how I link it myself, because
to be honest with you, as a scientist, I wouldn't comment.
No comment on that. Yes. So I mean, so what I'm saying is, you're saying that the HIV mutates a lot, therefore we are unable to find a vaccine for it. But that is precisely what's happening with this COVID-19. Within a year, we've had 4 variants now. With the Wuhan original COVID-19, then we have got which came here, then we have the Kent one in South London, then in Brazil, South America, or South Africa. I mean, and each one is becoming more infectious and more deadly.
Right, yeah. For the HIV virus, when it is inside the body, continuously is mutating, changing its code. That's one thing. Regarding the corona virus, you see, it's taking months to change. How can we prevent the virus from mutating? We need to the mechanism of the mutation. The virus mutates only when it divides, when it multiplies. Plus, there's a phase is called the transcription or replication. That when it replicates, then that's a chance where the mutation happens. Now, if we respect or follow the measures, the preventive measures, what happens? We don't allow or deprive the virus from dividing, from multiplying. If the virus doesn't multiply, it doesn't mutate.
Mhm.
It doesn't mutate. So one main objective of the vaccine in this case regarding the COVID-19 is to stop or deprive the virus from the chance of mutating or dividing. Because if we prevent it from dividing, multiplying, that means we are stopping it from mutating. And the also regarding the coronavirus, as it happens with the Kent virus, the mutation is partial. Is around maybe 10 to 20%. It's not that big. So in this case, 20%, the antibodies of the vaccine is still they can destroy the spike protein of the virus. So the new strain is still can be fought by the vaccine. The vaccine.
Brother Farhat, I have a question.
Yeah.
Somebody is asking, when you said about inflammation, is about the difficulty of breathing. What does the COVID-19 regards? What does it do to the, destroys the what we say when it goes through the air ways, and then what does it do?
Regarding what does it do? For example, in the lungs, it destroys the airbags. So if it destroys the airbags, that means there will be no enough oxygen within the body. So the patient will have difficulty in breathing, in breathing. This is one of the effects of the inflammation. Also, the inflammation affects other organs, main vital organs within the body, like the heart, the kidneys, and the brain, and so on.
And the other thing as well about the, it starves the blood from oxygen as well, which goes through, I think, a phase by oxidizing with iron, and there is 2 irons, I think, and I think one is about that iron. He takes the oxygen around the body.
To be honest with you, I have no information regarding this, but all I know, as we discussed before, is that within the body, the blood is made mainly of the white blood cells, red blood cells, the platelets, and the plasma.
Yes.
Hemoglobin.
Yeah. The oxygen we breathe goes inside the lungs, inside the airbags, and there the blood comes with the red blood cells within it, and within the red blood cells we've got hemoglobin. That hemoglobin binds to oxygen and takes it around the body for the cells to use it to break down the food we eat, like glucose, in the form of glucose, and produce energy from that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
right.
A somewhat less technical question, but one that is, I'm sure that everybody wants to know the answer to, if we have an answer for it, is this hand, face, and space. How long is that going to go on for? Even if after everyone is vaccinated in the next 6 months, that we're being told, are we still going to have to keep to this hand, face, and space?
I think we will be keeping it for considerable time, for a long time. Number one, for example, if you are vaccinated, there are 2 questions which experts couldn't answer at the moment. Number one, like in case of Abdulaziz, he has got the vaccine at the moment. After 20 days, 14 to 21 days, his immune system will produce the antibodies necessary for his protection. But the 2 questions remain to be answered. when Abdulaziz is protected, we don't know whether he can pass the virus to somebody else or not. So this question needs to be answered, and it can't be answered only after a while when the experts analyze the results after the vaccination program. This is number one. Number two, the second question, we don't know for how long the protection lasts, whether it is at the moment, the findings or the studies, they are saying it's around 6 months at most.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment, regarding the vaccines which are being used at the moment, we don't know for how long, and this is what the experts are trying to do at the moment, to find out about at the moment.
Right. Brother Asad and Brother Dr. Ferhat, I took, it was very quick because the priorities are for the above 75 years old. I think there are priorities for the vaccination, which is taking place. I think millions now have, I think last total was about 6.5 million, I think, on the weekend. And of course, a lot of people have been vaccinated as well, especially the elderly people, those with health condition like me, and of course those health workers, doctors and everything, care homes, and those who deal with the care homes, elderly people as well. Now, one thing which is very important, when I looked at the cause of death, they put still Alzheimer, dementia, and cardiovascular problems. And most of people who die now are actually from this the effect, because it affects the veins, you know, of the clotting, you know, about thin or thick blood, and especially in the morning, because they said majority of people who get heart attacks and brain stroke happened around 8 o'clock in the morning. And the idea is, myself and a brother, I think is a scientist as well from Germany, he spoke about the hayya ala, in the morning, yeah, and Italy, they have done it when they authorized the adhanul salat, calling for adhan, especially in the fajr, because Allah says, as-salatu khayru min an-nawm. Prayer is better than sleep. What happens when we sleep to the heart and the vein?
When from biological viewpoint, when we sleep, we've got two things. We've got in the body, within the body, we've got the brain, and we've got the kidneys. Those two organs, they need a continuous supply of oxygen.
Yes.
The heart, we've got the metabolic, what we call metabolic processes. When we are asleep, the activity of the metabolic processes goes to its minimum.
Yes.
Minimum. Yeah. The heart, what is the heart? The heart is a pump. It pumps blood around the body.
Yes.
If I talk briefly about the heart contains or consists of two sides, the left side and the right side.
Two chambers.
The right side receives what we call deoxygenated blood.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets the deoxygenated blood, it pumps it to the lungs. So the blood pumped pushed by the right side of the heart goes to the lungs. What happens within the lungs? So the blood within the lungs gives carbon dioxide and takes oxygen.
Right.
That oxygen from the lungs comes back to the left side of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets inside the left side of the heart pushes the blood with oxygen around the body. So when you are asleep, what we call the pumping, or the what's called the
Circulation.
this means the functioning of the rate, the heartbeat, okay, or the rate of the heartbeat goes to its minimum, that's what. So the resting state. That's
The fibrillation, is it?
Sorry?
The fibrillation?
I'm sorry, I'm not aware of that.
Right, okay. Yes, and you know, this idea of the heart goes to its minimum beating mode. And then they said at the veins, I think the body, the body produces a gland which reduces the diameter of the veins. And if the cholesterol level is high in everything, then this is where the blockage the blockage happened, and then brain and heart attack, and the stroke and the heart attack happens.
Okay, can we just move on to something less technical? Otherwise, we're going to completely lose our.
No, the idea is that if people wake up around the year for between 4 and 6 o'clock, which is Fajr prayer, and in Italy they allowed the Muslims to make the adhan to wake up the elderly people on Fajr time.
MashaAllah, good. So, well, if it works, it helps them. That's great. Right. Just to really, I suppose, really finish off this, because this discussion has turned very technical and very scientific. Obviously, you're a scientist, and that should have been expected, I suppose. But really, I suppose we are hearing reports that a very large percentage of Muslims, sort of non-white sort of population, generally the BAME population, but of course within that is a large section of it is the Muslim population. They seem to be very suspicious of this vaccine because of all these conspiracy theory videos that have been going around Telegram and WhatsApp and all these other social media. What is your message to the Muslims and others who are listening regarding the safety of this vaccine and its effectiveness in terms of protecting us from COVID-19 and the negative impact of it on our bodies?
Right. Yeah, regarding the effectiveness, I think no matter what happens, I think having the vaccine is far much better than not having the vaccine. This is one thing. Second thing, regarding whether somebody can take it or not taking it, for myself, if I get the chance to get the vaccine, I would take it. As soon as I am invited, I would go and take the vaccine. Regarding the safety of the vaccine, as far as I know, from what the scientists are saying, if take, for example, the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine, mainly people, they fear that the vaccine contains the virus. And when they get the vaccine inside the body, the virus is inside the body, and that coronavirus may multiply within the body and cause and create and produce the disease or the illness within the body. As far as we know, the BioNTech, for example, Pfizer vaccine, it contains only mRNA. The mRNA gets inside the body, the cell makes or produces the spike protein, and the spike protein and the immune system produce immunity or immune response against the spike protein. So, in fact, what you have inside your body as a vaccine is spike protein. It's not the virus.
Okay.
Only the spike of the protein.
See, some of the very, very briefly, because this is going a bit too long and sometimes a bit too technical, but very briefly, and if you can be as kind of non-technical as you can. I know it's
recommendation.
It's very difficult for a scientist to be non-technical in these terms. But I mean, some of the conspiracy theories are we're going to get little robots injected into our bodies, through which the government will be able to control us even more. The other theory is that there's pig gelatine inside these vaccines. Others is that it will change our DNA. Can you very briefly address these, especially these three main points that I'm sure you've heard, and Abdulaziz and myself, we've been sort of hearing in these conspiracy theories. Can you address each of these very briefly?
Yeah, as biologists, I always, or as biologists, all biologists, they believe in evidence-based things. We don't believe in speculations. So those people of conspiracy theories, if they've got something, they have to come with the evidence.
هاتوا برهانكم إن كنتم صادقين. Bring your proof.
Yeah, you have to have evidence.
I think the main problem is, and the reason why, one of the reasons why there's so much of this, this conspiracy theory stuff going around, is that there's been a lack of testing done on these viruses, and they've been kind of rushed. They've been rushed through. We've heard of 40,000 people being tested, but perhaps it should have been a lot more than that, so that we can see the side effects of this much more. Also, apparently, there was no testing on animals, which is normally the case, I understand, with such vaccines. And it's been, that a whole very important area of testing on animals has been just put aside and is being directly tested on humans. I think this is, if you can just address that very briefly.
As far as I know, they've done testing on animals. For example, the Oxford AZ AstraZeneca vaccine, they've done it on the chimpanzees, on the number one. Number two, before the vaccine is approved, it has to go through thorough testing. Number one, the phase one on animals, phase two on a relatively small group of humans, and the clinical trial, which is phase three, it has to be on a large sample of humans. Okay, yeah, like in the case of the BioNTech Pfizer, for example, I think around 40,000 trial phase three trial. They use around 40,000 people. So
would you say on that point? Would you say on that point that is a relatively low number, an average number, or a high number of people who've been tested in relation to, in comparison with other vaccines that have been produced for other purposes?
I would say that's a considerably high number, to be to give reliable results, because the bigger the number, the bigger the chance you can observe any complications regarding this vaccine. That's so. As we increase the number of the volunteers, that would be very good. Regarding the Oxford AstraZeneca, they've done here in UK around 12,000, as far as I know. There were around 5,000 in South Africa and 30,000 in USA. I think just for USA, it's been delayed a bit for some reason.
Right. Yeah, there's another question. Moving on. So you're basically saying 40,000 is a pretty decent number. It's not a low number.
It is.
Of people tested. And if they're happy with the results of that, then we should regard the vaccine to be safe for the general public, and we should not hesitate from using it.
It is safe as far as the level of information we've got at the moment.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, wow. I think we've covered quite a number of topics there. Jazakallah khair. Abdulaziz, if you got any more questions, otherwise.
Finally, because I myself, as I said before, I received the most important thing. We have a proverb saying, "You are the enemy what you don't know." أنت عدو ما تجهل. If you don't know something, you become its enemy. And the idea too is that so a lot of people are in the social media are talking without knowledge. Therefore, they are spreading ignorance. And 2, 3, like the virus multiply, we are multiplying misinformation as well on the social media.
You see, Abdulaziz, the problem is that, and you've seen it, and Dr. Ferhat has seen it. I've seen those videos where you have a panel of doctors and cancer specialists and this specialist and that specialist.
Yes.
And they are sort of spreading the seeds of doubt regarding these vaccines and regarding, whether COVID is a pandemic, it's not a pandemic, whether, and the way the results were, the way that, COVID deaths were being registered.
Recorded, yes.
For example, somebody dying of an car accident, but who happened to have COVID was recorded as having died not of a car accident, but of COVID, which obviously, so these are the problems. These are the causes of all the confusion. You and I, we can only go by experts. And if, you have a panel of experts or doctors, who, and virologists and others who cast doubt on the actual virus itself and then on the vaccines, that causes a problem for you and me and every layperson. And even, no doubt, many professionals who are saying, hang on, who are we supposed to listen to? You have these experts saying this thing and those experts saying something completely different. Who are we supposed to be listening to? That is our problem.
And you are true. And this is because of we have this big problem of trust. And, I told you about is the decision about, when the pandemic hit, was it should be a clinical decision done by scientists who have no problem with anything and no conflict of interest, or is it a political one or economical one? I think with the brother Ferhat, because we want to let him go, the idea is myself, when I had an interview indirectly with him before that I invite him, I said, inshallah, we do a health matter show where we'll have more time for ourselves.
Because look, there is a huge amount of stuff out there saying,
yes.
It was from bats. No, it was a biological weapon.
Man-made by China.
No, it's 5G that's causing it because of the frequency and stuff messing with our cells. I mean, who do you listen to? There is so much of this, I don't know what you want to call it, information or misinformation that is out there. We're confused, and I'm sure many experts are confused. How does that impact on you, Dr. Ferhat, when you listen to all of this? Very briefly.
As I said, I am not an expert, but as far as I know, regarding this issue, I think the hard evidence in front of us is that people are dying.
Yes.
The virus is there, people are dying. And for any rational person, I think the top priority at the moment is how to save lives or save people from dying because of this virus.
And on that point, and on that very important point, and we've gone on for quite a long time. We'll finish with this point, and that is, on this point, what should we be taking to help to boost our immunity, so that if we do get it, our bodies can fight it effectively?
Therefore, prevention is better than cure. Yes.
What medicines, what foods should we be taking? What vitamins, etc.
Apart from the vaccine, you mean?
Yes, apart from the vaccine.
Yeah, number one is you have to try as much as you can to avoid anxiety, depression. You have to be a happy man, happy person, smile all the time.
That depends on your wife. Go on.
Why? Because you know the immune system, the immune system is influenced by these factors.
Mental health.
And then, yeah, good health, that means good immune system or effective immune system. And when when the virus or any germ is inside the body, the immune system can fight effectively that germ, like the corona virus.
In terms of
other
vitamins,
sorry,
foods and vitamins, what would you recommend?
Yeah, you have to have a healthy lifestyle that involves activities. Yeah, this is, you have to be active. You have to be active.
Exercise.
Yeah, exercising. You have to be active, even if you are inside the inside the house. You have to create yourself a set of activities within the house. It's not necessarily you have to run outside, but you have to keep yourself busy within the house.
And therefore, this is doing the washing up and doing the work and everything.
Do the cleaning, the washing up, a lot of things you can do within inside the house. As far as the
in terms of the vitamins, what vitamins would you recommend to boost our immune system?
Yeah, usually the immune system, number one, you have to have balanced diet. You have to have a balanced diet, proteins, little of 3/3 of protein, of veg and fruits, and 1 portion of sugars, carbohydrates, and 1 portion of proteins, because the immune system, the antibodies are proteins.
Okay.
Okay,
and vitamin D and C, yeah.
Vitamin C, yeah, vitamin C is known to activate the to boost the immunity, activate the immune system. Vitamin C, and
vitamin D as well.
Vitamin D. There are some studies saying vitamin D, and the NHS is recommending around 10 micrograms.
And zinc.
I have no evidence regarding zinc, to be honest.
Okay. Iron. It has to be iron. Is iron, because it combines with oxygen and it goes around with the oxide of iron, isn't it?
Yeah, this is what we call balanced diet. Balanced diet, which makes sure you get a moderate or the right amount of everything. You've got micronutrients, like you need iron. Why iron? Because, as we said, it gets into it. It's a part of the immunoglobulin, and it helps. That's the main part which transfers or transports oxygen within the body. Vitamin D is very important, as we said. You've got vitamin C, you've got calcium so you need balanced diet. Proteins, you need a bit of carbohydrate, that's for energy, and lipids. You need some lipids also for energy, and parts of the body they need you need cholesterol, for example. The body needs these minute parts of it. It does not too much cholesterol is unhealthy, but little bit of it is needed for the body.
And would you say cut down on your weight? So
absolutely, yeah. That's the main thing. Cut down on your weight. That's why healthy lifestyle mainly is about body weight.
BMI of less than 25.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jazakallah khair. It's been very, very helpful. I'm sure everyone who will be listening to this will find it extremely useful. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's good to have an expert in the field to give us the kind of information that unfortunately we don't always get on social media, and to dispel any misinformation that we're bombarded with. Unfortunately, we're in the sort of age of fake news and alternative facts and all that stuff. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, mashallah. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Ferhat, for your contribution. And inshallah, we'll promise, inshallah, we'll have a program on health matters with you. And I think we will dedicate maybe a good program for this as well in a series of program as we go, and what is the effect of diet. And as we are preparing for Ramadan, and Ramadan is very close as well, before we start preparing for it, we will talk about the benefit of fasting as well, and the prayer and all those spiritual side of it, because if they talk about mental health, and the prayers and fast and other things as well will of course boost our immune system as well, and not only our immune system, but stop us from committing sins as well. And inshallah we'll talk about that in another program. I thank you, may Allah bless you, inshallah, and jazakallahu khair for your contribution, brother Ferhat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
وإياكم. Thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakumullahu khair. Shukran. Okay, mashallah.